All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live and welcome to the second ever episode of Top Rope Talk. We are your host, Denzel Snipes, along with Jacob Christner, and we've got a loaded show for you today. It's going to be a recap of this past week in pro wrestling. But first off, Jake, how you doing, my man?
Feeling good, feeling good. It's like one of the things was we had an enjoyable first show, and it's one of those deals right now. It's like now it's television, not just like the PLEs. I'm still getting used to saying PLE. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
pay-per-view.
but you know what? I still loosely say pay per view. I'm just like this is what I've come to know it
Well,
as is pay per
we're
view.
paying for it anyway. You might as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Premium live event. They don't even want to say PLS because I mean that sounds too much like PMS. I guess I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, we had a bit of difficulties before going on the air, but we are live now, and so now we are going to get started here, and that is our first topic, and that is our Raw recap from this past week, and what a Monday Night Raw it was indeed.
Showing the video.
Shoot, if we, wait, we had a video.
No, showing the picture. Excuse me.
Oh, the picture. Oh, yeah, of course. So,
We're getting there.
so on Raw, let's see here. Oh, okay. Kirk's back here. So the Raw recap for August the 7th. Nakamura attacked Rollins post-match after the main event, which saw them defeat the Judgment Day. Chad Gable won the Fatal 4-Way match, and also it appears as if Cody's next challenge may be for the World Heavyweight Championship, currently held by Seth Rollins. But what I wanted to get to first was Nakamura's intent. So he actually stepped in and was the tag partner for Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins in the main event. Um, not Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins was saying about expressing how much he didn't trust Cody Rhodes and such. You know, they go back to last year when they had 3 classic bangers.
Yeah.
That was, of course, before the injury. Cody Rhodes actually doing an entire Hell in a Cell with a torn pec, which is nothing short of Herculean effort that if we've ever seen in the last 5 years, easily.
Oh yeah.
So after a matchup, Nakamura attacks Rollins. A little earlier on in the night, somebody that a lot of people felt like should get a push up the card and maybe even for an Intercontinental title shot, Chad Gable winning a Fatal 4-Way match. But I want to get your thoughts on these things right here, quick, Jake.
Well, first off, the last time you see Nakamura, I have to ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
Who gave him the idea of that horrible bodysuit? Who gave him that horrible? I mean, are we in this level where Vince still doesn't want a skinny guy? Are we still in, or a fat guy? He wants you to be shredded. It's like you start out shirtless, and then all of a sudden you get the bodysuit because, Vince had a nightmare about you being skinny. I see. The thing is, but at the same time, here's the thing about Nakamura. I like him as a crazy heel.
Right.
The only babyface thing about him, truthfully, is his music. The music came in with NXT. That awesome violin.
Very true.
Very, very cool. And then he does his thing, but it's like he and Asuka kind of need to make a faction with a couple others. Because they're just nuts. They're just absolutely crazy. And it's just like, they really, really need to go pull that trigger, and it's really cool. As far as Rollins,
mm-hmm.
as far as Rollins goes, wonderful matches, awesome matches.
Of course.
But here's my question: when you see him dressed in those ridiculous, stupid Croc boots, and everything that he comes up with, what's insane? Mm-hmm. Does he feel like he has to go that level of dress to get any attention, considering he's the champ?
Yeah.
Does he feel that?
I mean, one thing, Nakamura has always been, they call him the king of strong style. It's also maybe
Oh, he's
legal to call him
tremendous.
the king of strange style as well. I'm not going to go as far as saying the man's, the second coming of Goldust or anything like that. But he definitely has been one of a kind since his time in WWE.
Goldust wouldn't make it now because Goldust had to be started in an era without the the company going public.
Right?
It had to. You have to know it right. It had to be done right. It had to be. I mean, Goldust is basically a much taller, bigger Adrian Street. Rest in peace, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a taller. It was a taller, heftier version of some Adrian Street, and it's like you can't have it going public. Everything that they can't do. They could back in those times because it wasn't public.
Right?
And it's like, and truthfully, I hate that it did go. I still hate that it went public. Not because of Jim Cornette's thought processes of, oh, they're making it's a scam and all that. Goddamn, it isn't any of that.
Yeah.
It isn't any of that. It's just the fact that you go public. You're always to the shareholders. You're always to the board. You're on their thing. They're all the minute that there is something that looks relatively controversial. Someone throws a
Mm-hmm.
figure, get a text at night, and it's like they were making their millions without going there. They just wanted to make it faster. And it's like there are things that they could have done now if they would have get in, they could ignore.
Right.
The
Yeah.
only thing is there might be a few ads that might throw a fit, but I mean that doesn't stop Fox News, right?
Yeah. Yep. Indeed. Now, what about your thoughts on Chad Gable, who's been making rumblings as late? With Chad Gable, actually with Alpha Academy in general, it's almost as if they've kind of grown on everybody. He went from just this annoying like Kurt Angle wannabe to a guy who, I mean, Otis has become increasingly popular. Well, me personally, I think he's been popular since he won Money in the Bank. But then you got Chad Gable, and he's had some big victories as of late. And you have people touting his name around as the one to dethrone Gunter. What do you think?
Personally, to me, you heard me last week. He needed to be the one to throw by himself Omos over.
Mm-hmm.
He needed to be the one to do it. People do not. I mean, people that don't see it all the time don't see it. He is one strong dude. He did the
Yes.
rollover into that back on sheesh. Well, he's done it to he's done it to quite a few of them, but he's done it for 380 pounders,
Yeah.
370. The Broman. The Braun Strowman. Excuse me. He did it to Braun Strowman, and I mean, dude's strong. If he could do it to Strowman, he can put Almas over by
He could.
himself. And it's like, and he needed to be that. And it's like, and that's another Vince thing. See, the thing about Vince is I don't have an issue with him doing what he wants to do with business. He is still a business genius. He's
Yeah.
getting the marketing stuff out there. He's getting them out there. Creatively, his fingerprints are still there. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, Bronson Reed has to bump and lose. I mean, shush. Shush. I mean, let's see. You've got a really okay. You could have easily Brett and Jim the Anvil Neidhart of this era with Chad Otis. It's like, why does Otis have to bump all the time? Why does he have to lose? Why does he have to lose in 3 minutes?
Yeah.
And it's like, why do you can have, I mean, and here's the thing, he could be a more in shape version of Anvil Neidhart. Not in shape by how big he is, but as far as because he's got the stamina that Anvil didn't.
Interesting, because I've actually compared him more to Vader than Anvil.
Well, I'm talking about tag team.
Oh, as a tag team? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm saying I think he's got more stamina than Anvil Neidhart did.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I said, you could do things with him, but it's like, see, I really, really believe. See, Vader you brought up Vader. Vader was the worst thing whatsoever. His worst thing about him being so darn athletic is he had to show everybody. He had to show everyone. It's like, okay, it's very, very cool that he can get caught in the corner and slammed. Okay, Steve Williams, understood. It's not cool when you seen Brian Pillman do it. Brian Pillman did that to him. Everybody did that. They'd catch him in the corner and slam him. I mean, it's kind of like I saw a video. I mean, you remember One Man Gang? He faced off as Crusher Broomfield against Lanny Poffo.
Yeah.
It's like during ICW, Lanny lifted him easily and threw and slammed him. They show him in WWF with a job match, and he tried to lift him, and it was like,
yeah.
And it's like, and it's one of those things where it's like, but they're trying to protect.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to protect the big guy, and it's like Vader killed his own thing by killing his own body, killing his own deal because everybody slammed him. Everybody knocked him down.
Yep. Yeah. And you know what? To a certain extent, especially in WWE, you know who else that happened to? Big Show. So they had it, but they also kind of, I think they went a little bit deeper with it. I can recall him coming off the top rope. Not often. I mean, it was maybe once a year. But aside from that, but also, Big Show, and maybe he's an outlier because the Big Show, was way more of an athlete than Andre ever was.
I know Andre was pretty good because he was a soccer player when he was younger. Pretty good, and he did some cool things like with the and that kind of stuff. But he got injured quicker than Big Show did. But the thing about Show was, I can do this. See, I wonder if it's wrestling or if it's WWE by itself or whatever. But why is Big Show bumping at all for like Rey Mysterio?
Yeah.
And those are the things I always say about big guys like Bronson Reed now. Both him and Otis go down in 3 minutes, and it's like those are guys you should be running into.
Yeah.
You're running into and bouncing off and going three rows into the crowd.
Yeah, tumbleweeding like backwards and everything, But hey, we do have to move on to our next topic here.
The roads. About Rhodes?
I'm sorry. Before we move on, so your thoughts about Rhodes? You think he's on his way to the World Heavyweight Championship?
Maybe, but if they do that, then they're going to go for merging it. If they because he's going to beat Roman this time. So they're going to go for. There's no question. You got to remember, he wants to bring the Winged Eagle back.
Yeah, and you know what? And we had a bit of a discussion. I put a post up on Wrestling Discussions. The only way that now, for the record, I wouldn't have a problem with Rhodes as champion. I want to see him win it. The only thing is it wouldn't make any sense for him to now win it because then WWE has to admit they dropped the ball by having him have that comeback story and win the Rumble of 23 and then losing the reigns. So why circle back around? You know what I mean? They should.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What they should have done was they should have had him win Rumble 24 if that was the plan all along. Why have him win at 23 just to now? The only way that they can make that right is if The Rock comes back and costs Reigns the title and it sets up a super fight. That's the only way it would remotely make sense to me.
And you know something and I'll tell you this: I wouldn't go with the Winged Eagle for him. When he merges, this is for merging it. You want to know what I'd go with? Dusty's belt that he had in his hand during that time in '77 that he had. That was the one against Superstar Graham.
Oh wow!
I'd have him go with that one, and that is Cody's own belt and only.
Interesting. Okay.
I would have him go with that one. That can be the merge, and then everybody else can get their own version, get it all that, because they have billions. But I would do that because I saw the documentary and he picked that one up, not the Winged Eagle. So I was like, why not have him have that one?
But you know what? During Cody's previous run in WWE, it was him who brought back the previous version of the Intercontinental Championship,
which needs to still be there because the other one is garbage.
Yes, I've gotten used to this one. The United States Championship currently is garbage. Speaking of which, on to our next topic.
And I'll say this. All of their belts are garbage in all my opinion because I'll tell you why. Because Vince has an addiction to showing off his label, WWE. So it has to surround the dang belt. So it makes it crap.
And one would agree with that one, absolutely. All right, so on to our next topic. and that is our WWE SmackDown recap. This was the WWE SmackDown that aired on 11 August of 2023. Where, as you can see, during the program, Rey Mysterio actually steps in for an injured Santos Escobar and defeats Austin Theory to win the WWE United States Championship. And then in the main, well, not the main of, well, that was like the main event, and then like the last segment, Jimmy Uso explains his actions as to why he did what he did at SummerSlam, which led to Jay Uso making his exit. So for those of y'all who missed it, Jimmy Uso came down to the ring right after Roman Reigns did. Uso came out to the crowd from the crowd. Reigns initially thought that what Jimmy did was for him. Jimmy said it had nothing to do with him. Jey Uso comes down to the ring. He tells Jimmy, explains his actions. Jimmy, and I actually like this as a twist because it was a dive away from the whole "I'm jealous of you" trope, you know. And Jimmy was like, you know, I did what I did because I loved you, because I've seen, you know, the phrase goes, absolute power corrupts. You know, I've seen what it did to our cousin, and I didn't want to see you turn into him, you know. And I think that was Jimmy's legitimate reason for doing it. It's just that Jay wasn't buying it. Jay ends up getting attacked by Roman, and then Jay lays Roman out. He lays out Solo Sikoa, and then he calls Jimmy back to the ringside to super kick him, and then he turns to the microphone. He says, "I'm out of the bloodline. I'm out of SmackDown. I'm out of WWE," and he leaves out of the crowd. So, your thoughts on this right here, and maybe any other match that may have happened during SmackDown?
Well, as far as Rey Mysterio, creative just cannot. Creative is Vince. We already know this part right here. But it can't. I mean, creative is Vince, but I'm saying the creative writers have to go do everything. The failed TV writers are in crap. You know, who were crap before, but they were crap before, but they've got themselves a job right now. The failed comedy writers. If they had any, we're going to talk about this later. But if they had any kind of thing whatsoever, they let Ray keep that title the rest of the year, all the way to WrestleMania. Have the match with Dom. Belt and mask for hair.
Oh, interesting.
Finish Ray's career.
Agreed.
Finish his career out.
You know, before you continue, initially I was, and don't get me wrong, you're talking to a Ray fan here, all right? But I was like, you know what? Winning the title does nothing for him at this point. But now that you mentioned that, it could lead somewhere.
Well, yeah, I'm saying but see, the thing is, I don't know if when I see the long-term everything, there is a, Vince will have something to do with that, obviously. You have to get the final say, but I have a belief it's Triple H. Triple H getting in there because he was old school wrestling fan to the hilt. Ever since he's been in there, how many years do these guys keep their belts at once? Months, everything like that. So you have to convince the old man, but he does. But you think about these. Rey Mysterio wins the U.S. title. You got that straight. But is he going to lose it in a month? And it's like, and that's where they get a problem. These are the same writers. There was the same writers who tried to shush off Cody when he wasn't with AEW or anything yet, then try to type on something, and then it was a blank screen. They're so many of them are garbage. We don't have anything for you. Oh Lord, you know, and it's like, and I go with this. Jimmy and Jay go to this. It's like absolute power corrupts. I like the idea, except here's one problem. Because creative is not creative and they suck, they could have absolutely had him pull somebody out and go through the crowd. Who is it? And hold it off for weeks. Hold it off for weeks. Then you get to the Survivor Series. You see the guy again. Then you see Jimmy. Then you see Jimmy. Then Jay quits. Give Jay all the way to the Royal Rumble. Then you have a storyline there. Then you got to that thing. But that's what I'm bringing. Is these are little things like this. It's like, yes, the bloodline has been so good. I know it's the story. It's the same as the Hearts. It's the same as the Roads. It's the same as it is same as any of that. When it's a family element, family's going to know each other. There's no way creative's going to know any of this. Because these are the same ones that thought Intercontinental Champion Cody needed to be Mini Goldust.
Stardust.
Yes, that's what they mean. If it was all of them, they would also come up with 5 more awesome stories. If you come up with an awesome story like this, you don't come up with 4 crappy ones.
Yeah. I think like with the creative team, and we'll attack that here in a little bit. I think now that everyone has been rumbling like this has been the greatest storyline in wrestling easily in 20 years, some are saying of all time, I think now they're really starting to feel the pressure that they have to end this thing the right way. Now,
And
here's the thing.
I'll tell you this real quickly. Sorry. I'll tell you this part. Rock and Roman needs to have every Samoan there. He needs to cut off the upper rope, everything like that. Old man at the bottom, at the bottom, and then you show all the Samoans, the 100 or whatever. They're watching that match, Rock versus Roman.
Has to be all of them. I agree.
Has to be every one of them.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that one. With what was I gonna say? Only one thing to point out with your whole stretching out, who was it that pulled him away at SummerSlam, is everyone would have already guessed that it was Jim Uso because there was suspicions that it was going to happen. Shout out to Chris Soto in Wrestling Discussions. The only one out of the group that called a Jimmy turn at SummerSlam. I think everybody would have already been like, yeah, it was Jimmy Uso all along.
Go with it
couldn't
anyway.
be anybody else.
Go with it. I understand that, but go with it anyway because now we know where do you go with this. It's like it's like, I mean, going into Survivor Series with it going and stuff like that. I mean, and then guess what? It's like if you could have covered him up even more, they could have still tagged up. Could have still tagged up. You could have stilled everything. Then you have this again, and then it happens again, and then he does it.
Yeah, indeed. Understandable. Well, on to our next topic here, and that is our NXT recap that was aired on August the 8th. And that is Trick Williams challenges, in my opinion, one of the fiercest competitors in NXT, probably the fiercest small man in WWE, in Ilya Dragunov. Dominic Mysterio retains the NXT North American Championship, and the question that has Dom finally reached stardom. I can recall a discussion sometime last year where everyone in our group wrestling discussions was pretty much saying Dom needs to go heel. And there was pushback about it. Oh, well, going heel's not going to solve anything. This thing has been a literal slingshot for Dominic Mysterio, because I will say it to any one of you all who's watching this telecast right now, that Dominic Mysterio gets more heat than Roman Reigns himself. Don't believe me? Look at who's booing and who's cheering when Reigns is in the ring, and look at who's booing and who's cheering when Dom is in the ring. The boos it's not even close. And I'll tell you another reason why is because there are actual Reigns fans. There's actually bloodline
it's 50-50.
fans.
No, it's 50-50 with Roman. It's
Even
100 with Dom.
Exactly. So with that being said, take it away.
Dom, the thing was, I wouldn't have said, I'll admit this, I would not have ever said, go heel, go anything. I would have said, go away. Because I still remember the most boring 8-year-old in history of life when he was doing that Eddie and Ray deal.
That's 8 years old. What did you know?
I've seen the kids in the thing, and they showed actual emotion. He literally looked like, I don't know if they drugged him or something like that. This is happy. This is sad. This is angry. That was, he literally.
I mean,
it's literally.
To be fair. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's literally he rolled into the ring to try to push the ladder. I mean, it's like, I know it's an 8-year-old, but it's like there is no effort, no anything. So, see, and the thing is, I would have said, if I would have seen him at 8 and I would have had an awesome thought process, I'm like, this is going to be awesome. Then I saw him older. It's like, oh, God, because he was so boring. And he was a boring babyface. Ridiculously boring. As a heel, it's all perfect. And I'll tell you why. He doesn't go to the gym. Or he goes to the gym, but it's all cardio. He has a skinny, he has a Sam Houston body.
Yeah.
He has a Sam Houston body. He looks ridiculous. And then he makes fun of his Sam Houston body.
He does.
He makes fun of it. And it's like, it is the ultimate honky tonk man chicken shit heel.
Yeah.
It is, and it doubles down on it. He hides behind a woman.
Yeah. Well, she's also bulkier than him, so there's that.
Well, I'm saying she is, but I'm saying that really gets the heel heat going. I would have never seen it. He's phenomenal as a heel, and it is like, and I will say this: if he is if he is the go babyface, I say beat him down, give him about 12 weeks in the gym, and come back babyface. It will bomb. If he comes, it will bomb, and it will come. If he comes as a babyface with that body, it will bomb.
He does. He has to go and bulk up. See, the reason why it looks so different now, you remember back in the early 2000s in WWE, in 2000, in fact, when, that's what they're comparing it to. They're comparing this whole thing to Eddie Guerrero in China, right? At least with Eddie Guerrero, that man
Eddie was a big guy.
Yes, he was jacked. Like, all his career, Eddie Guerrero has always been NFL running back size. Tell me I'm lying.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
No, Eddie's, for one thing, Eddie, I am telling you this right now, that had to be real because Dom looks like Eddie. I'm sorry, Bray. Dom looks like Eddie. To the hilt. The WCW 95 Eddie, that is so Dom. And guess what? But Eddie was in a lot better shape.
Yeah, and the crazy part is even in 95, he was like solid, but then he started getting shredded. Then he just started like bulking. So like, yeah, it was crazy. But I want to also get your thoughts about let's see, and this match will actually happen tomorrow night on NXT on the USA Network. Trick Williams challenging Ilya Dragunov. How do you think that match is going to go?
I mean, Dragunov. What else? But I mean, Dragunov, I'm going to absolutely say that. But my favorite, here's the thing: my favorite match with him was Gunther or Walter.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I want to see, and give me this thing. What do you see? What would you say? I'm just trying to think of the thing. I want to see from what you think. Trick Williams' size. What would you say he is?
His size?
Yeah, the overall height and weight.
Without looking it up, he's about the size of 1998 Booker T. About 6'3", 250.
And that's the big thing. That's the point of it. He gave Walter, I'm going to say Walter in this one, because I don't like the name Gunther, but it was Walter then. But he gave Walter a fight and a half, and he took about a 15-minute beat down while getting it. He's phenomenal at the beat down and comeback.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got a big guy again. Now you've got a big guy again to be able to do this. And I would have loved to see much more with the Keith Lee.
Yeah, indeed. You know what? The intensity and the moveset, and dare I say this, you know what? I'm just going to say it because I know it's going to create, topics. And you can call me like bullheaded for this. You can call me idiotic. You can call me whichever, okay? I'm going to make a real bold statement right now. His intensity and his moveset, Ilya Dragunov could push Roman Reigns to the limit.
Yeah. I like intense. It's a Benoit and, the angle type thing.
He could push Roman Reigns to the limit, and he could beat Sikoa.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what remember what I was saying to you, that I love intensity. I'll go back to 86 for a second. Hogan versus Orndorff.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one time Hogan was exceptionally intense in matches. Was Orndorff or maybe Piper. Those were the ones. because they never stopped. It was that intensity. I'm going to kill you. You better give me something.
Right.
And that's what that was way back in that time. And you're getting into a usually lazy Hogan. And he really had to go through because they weren't going to give him anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, and this is the thing. It's why I keep saying this about intense guys. I don't want to see them get beat to shreds. I don't want to see them bump even. And everything if you're not going to give back and give the same intensity.
You know what? And that's one thing you always had to respect about Piper is because remember when Piper was in WCW in 96 when he first got there? And then on through like 97, 98, and 99? Yeah. He was no different than the one that headlined WrestleMania 1.
A little slower. He had the hip.
That was the only thing.
But he was still, intense. But he was still intense. Mm-hmm. And by the way, second match stunk. First match, the build-up was amazing. Mm-hmm. They just see after they brought the kid in. They brought the kid in, and then they got all stuff like that, and you have to humiliate him in front of this kid, and all blah 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 blah. No, not necessary. Never necessary. They were. It's just like it's Hogan Piper. Boom. That's all you needed. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and it's the same when it's two. That's what I get, and we're gonna bring it up in a second with creative. With the creative thing, they overthink themselves. You don't need anything else. Guess what? It's Roman. It's Roman and Brock Lesnar. Boom.
That's it.
By the way, I pinned you last time. You used a backhoe. Boom. That's enough. That's enough. It's like there are guys that aren't good enough. You need to get a storyline out of. Okay. There are some that just don't need it. You don't need to put the kid in there. You don't need the humiliation angle. It's Hogan and Piper. Enough.
You just leave them alone. Yeah. You let them do their thing.
Especially those two egos.
Shoot. You know what? I'll give you another two. Rock and Mankind.
Yeah.
You tell them they're facing each other at the pay-per-view, and you let them go.
It's like, oh, yeah. The fat guy with no athletic ability versus perfect immaculate conception. And it's like, but guess what? You are more athletic. You're more everything. I'm nuts. I'm crazy. Boom. There you go. You do it for 3 weeks.
And they brought out the best in each other, you know.
Yeah. But, and it's like, you don't have to go so far. This is not hard.
No, not at all. You know, and you know what? That is the beauty about Vince Russo when he created the Attitude Era. He said sometimes you have to let wrestlers be themselves and turn the volume up to 10. That's
the one thing I will give Russo is you did have Triple H said, "Here's Helmsley," and you had that, and then you had Stone Cold Steve Austin. He does say this: they look like men. He says that. I agree with that. But the issue is he had to have a live action nudie magazine every single time. Then you had to have a ridiculous. You had to have 3 hardcore matches during a 2-hour Raw. Now, I mean, the hardcore matches went freaking 20 minutes.
Yeah,
they'd go 20 minutes, and then the other matches would go 2. Then he had to have naked women. Then he had to have. And it's like this is just. I mean, he acted like a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right, got to move on to our next topic here. We're trying to get these people out of here for Monday Night Raw. It's coming on in 13 minutes. But on to our next topic here, and that is our AEW news, just real quick. So this is for pretty much the week of AEW, which occurred all of last week between Rampage, Collision, and also Dynamite. So some really quick bits. CM Punk retained the Real World Championship. He actually revealed what was in that bag the whole time, and it was the AEW Championship that he never lost. And he declared himself the Real World Champions, brought back the NWO vibe, spray painted the X across the belt. He retained the title against Ricky Starks with one of your favorites, Jake, Rick Steamboat, as special guest referee, and also Adam Cole and AEW World Champion MJF set for All In London for the AEW title. Your thoughts on these?
Cole and MJF. Now, this is the thing. This is the thing I didn't think. You got to think about this. What if What if MJF finally broke and had a friend? What if he finally broke? Broke down and had it. And what if Cole turned on him?
Wow.
What if Cole turned on? And this is the absolute psychotic, I hate everyone type. And he finally broke. I mean, it's like that would be the ultimate in storytelling. Someone got there, and then Cole turns on him.
You know what's crazy? It's almost like you remember the tag team of Kane and X-Pac in the late 90s? Mm-hmm. And then X-Pac turned on him?
Yeah. Especially after all those things. Well, yeah, they turned on him. Well, you want to know what made me mad about that? This is another problem with Vince Russo. It all went too quick. It's like you got to remember after Rumble, China. After Rumble, China turns. After Rumble, China turns on Triple H.
Yep.
Then you got that thing, and then about 3 weeks of X-Pac getting absolutely stomped by Kane. Then they go, and then he gets to it anyway. And it was like 2 months.
WrestleMania.
And the WrestleMania was 2 months.
Triple H beat up Kane and got back China. So it's like, okay, so all right, China's back in DX. Then literally like a match or two later, Triple H turns on X-Pac.
Yeah. So then, and if I see that went to I mean, that was the big thing. He always had a thought process that it was the soap opera, but he took it too far. It's like he didn't. I don't think he trusted the kids. I think he really felt like that they were going to get bored. But here's the deal: if they were going to get bored, the kids, quote unquote, they wouldn't have been that interested in Hogan Piper. That was on the other station, and they were exceptionally interested. That was one of the biggest pay-per-views ever.
Right.
They were exceptionally interested. The kids were watching that, and that was a long-term storyline. So it's like he had this fear that they wouldn't want long-term storylines, and WCW's got over the other side, and that was going. That was going itself. It's like all the younger generations want is good. Yep. Mind you, they don't want 1986, but they just want something good because this whole thing with Bloodline they want. This whole thing with, Jericho, we already talked about Jericho too, which if there are people asking if he should retire, whatever.
You think his time's up?
That would mean me in 2002 saying that Hogan needed to go, and that was his one last hurrah, and those are some great times. So let Jericho have his one last hurrah, although he does need to lose about 25 pounds.
Dude, listen, have his contract run up in AEW, have him sign to WWE, give him his farewell match, and put him in the Hall of Fame already, and then that's it.
No. You know? I'm saying that let it be it. It's like, let it be it. It's like, the thing is, you don't mind Hulk in 2002 because he's doing basically the same stuff slower. Jericho, you do mind because what kind of moves he was doing. He can't do most of them anymore.
That's why his time's running up.
Yeah, there's a lot of them he couldn't do anymore, and if he can do them, he's slower.
Oh yeah, that moonsault is getting slower and slower, ain't it? That Jericho.
Well, it's reminding me of Hogan's big boot that was starting to go to the chest.
Yeah. Yeah, so quick thoughts about CM Punk and what you foresee for him.
I loved Ricky Starks doing that I love them doing that. And then the thing about Ricky is it was supposed to be Ricky with that one shot. You know what I'm saying? And then go out and then yay, all that stuff. He's the one that said Ricky Starks needs to beat me down. He was the one, which that is Ricky Steamboat. Remember, he was the big seller. He always loved selling anyway. And he always loves giving back. But the thing is, you want to know what I like about that? Old men are supposed to have one shot in them. They're supposed to have one swing left. Every old tough guy is supposed to have one swing left.
Yep.
They all are. It doesn't mean, guess what? It doesn't mean that they're any weaker than they were at 25. It means they're slower. It means they're older. It means nature came to them. Mother Nature came. Mm-hmm. That's what life is. It doesn't mean they're any less tough. It doesn't mean they didn't remember what to do. They're all supposed to have one last thing. He shouldn't beat up Ricky Starks. He should have one good shot in him.
Yeah.
And Ricky get him. That was
Yep.
the thing. As far as Punk, I mean, Punk and MJF, what else?
Yeah, indeed. Well, on to our next topic real quick, and that is, and you heard of us all allude to it earlier in the telecast, and that is, should there even really be a creative team? There's been a lot of, especially WWE's creative team is subject to a lot of criticism the last, 10,
20
13
years.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much since not the Attitude, since the Ruthless Aggression era ended. So if one is not needed, who should run creative?
Well, Triple H, no question. But the thing is, I think I think there needs to be a chopped down creative team. There's so many people in that room. Needs to be chopped down. Mm-hmm. They need to do Cornette is so correct on this. He's so correct. I listen to his stuff. He is correct on this. It's like they don't need to write scripts. They do need to do bullet points. Maybe they do need to get an idea for the people that don't know how to come up on their own with a bullet point, like with a promo. Maybe they need to do that. Chop it down. Some 6, 7. There's so many of them doing this type of thing. It's kind of like a writer's room it's kind of like the writer's room that they're striking about now in the for WGA.
Right.
It's almost like that. They're just doing so much. Chop it down. Let Triple H be involved, and it's like basically you need to have a Triple H or anybody let's just say bring Arn Anderson back. Just do the thing, whatever. You need to have these type of things, and them saying, guys, it's Roman and Brock. Next.
True.
It's like back in the time, like when there was Hogan and Flair doing that thing when they went to Saudi Arabia. Or Saudi Arabia, as it actually is. But when they did that, guys, Hogan, Flair. Yeah, I'll get that. Absolutely.
Yep.
But it's like, guess what? It's Hogan, Flair. Shut up. Next.
Yeah.
It's like
Flair Savage.
What? What?
It's Flair Savage or Savage Piper. Yeah.
It's like, but you've got guys like, okay, they're just from NXT. You got guys that need time with the television. Okay, we'll even say Gable. We'll even say any of these guys. Let's come up with things. Let's work together. Go bring them in there. Don't get to this thing. It's like with the idea. Just chop. If you have to have creative, chop it.
You can't. And you know what? I'll even go as far as this, and I say to this day, WWE made the mistake with Roman Reigns when he first went solo. And it's this comment right here. It says, if a wrestler can't talk, get him a manager. Get him a manager you could get him a manager, or you Goldberg him. You make him a silent badass. He comes in, he whoops ass, he doesn't say a word. Hey, can we get a word in? Have him glare at him and walk off. You don't have him speak. You make him a silent badass.
That's what they missed. This is the truth. They missed a giant opportunity with Bobby Heenan when he had his bad neck in WCW. Mm-hmm. It's like early on, he could have taken Goldberg. It's like, why does he need to bump? He doesn't need to bump. Goldberg kills everybody.
True.
He can say that. Goldberg can turn face by turning on Bobby. Doesn't even have to do it. He can walk out. Bobby goes right back to the announce booth.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to bump him, doesn't have to do anything. He could just then go, and then it's all that kind of stuff like that. Then you have the story that I had him at one time, blah, blah, blah. You can forget, do whatever. You've missed an opportunity. Remember, Bobby always talked. Always talked. Like he was always announcing, like, I'm still a manager. I just got to find that right guy.
Right.
Always did. And it's like you missed that. But as far as creative, chop it down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you better believe he did. But no, chop it down. As I said, the chopping it down means, guess what? Flair comes back, you don't have to do anything. It's like just get people like Triple H, say, Flair, settle down. You know this is a publicly traded company. We know you, blah, blah, blah. It's like, settle it down. Because if you don't have anybody behind him on that, he'll get him in trouble.
Yeah, he will.
But,
And so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But chop it. That's the thing. It's like, as far as the creative team now, die. As far as chop it down, give them some reality, give them some common sense. It's Roman. It's The Rock. Rock's never needed anything.
Right.
Settle down. Settle on the thing. It's like, come up with a good story and leave it be.
Yep, absolutely. Well, got about 2 minutes left. So perfect time for our wrap up, and that is our finish or DQ segment. We get it on the screen here. So what we like to do is we like to kind of do a buy or sell segment here on something on the past and what you would change. So we throw a little alternate scenario in, and finish means, yep, you agree, or DQ, you would disagree and change it or leave it as is. So WrestleMania 13.
Agreed.
WrestleMania 13. Hart, Austin, I Quit match should have been the main event over Undertaker Sid for the WWF Championship. Finish or DQ?
Undertaker Sid should have been mid-card. I don't care if it's the title. I don't care if it's the title. Oh, no, Hart and Austin, that goes without saying. Finish. Oh, good Lord, yes. Especially when you could have ended the show with him limping off with the blood. Yes. And Austin. People forgot. That was the problem with it being mid and down the line. People, they have the IQ, they have the ADD level of a fish. They forgot about that until you had to show it the next night. That's true. Could have ended it and burned it in their mind with his blood and paused it on that end with that mouth open and the blood right there. And you could have said, and you could have had the WWF thing at the bottom saying copyright, blah, blah, blah. Right there. Burn it in their head.
Yes, absolutely. Well, on that note, we are done for the evening. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to watch Top Rope Talk. And also stay tuned because on Thursday, we might be trying out something new. Jake, give a quick explanation.
We are going to be trying there's going to be no pundits this week. No pundits this week because, just the thing, because we are trying an idea. We are going to we're going to do a once a month. We're going to do a test run of old matches, Japan, Europe, however way from the old time. Do our own little version, whether it's funny or it's serious. Of it doesn't have to be bad; it can be bad or good. Of the old match like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
All right.
We will not have we won't have the dark, and we won't have anything. You'll see our faces.
All right. Hey, absolutely. Well, listen. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And for the Sniper and the Pundit, this is Top Rope Talk. See you next week or maybe on Thursday. Stay tuned.